first bottle.
How does it feel, Rob? Your
Heavy.
first feeding.
Heavy for a 7-pound baby.
Mm-hmm. So you changed diapers. You fed him.
Learned how to do circumcised Vaseline diapers. Slept on a very uncomfortable bed for a few nights. This is probably the roughest part of this. Baby's been great. Jason's been awesome. He's circumcised right now, not even crying about it.
He's tough like his daddy.
Oh, you wanted? Huh?
Hello YouTube, Osomo here, and I am going to tell you about our hospital stay. Of course, we're going to start with the first day. We actually filmed all of this in the hospital, well, part of it, but then we got interrupted because people were always coming in, so we didn't get to film everything. So I'm just going to start over from the beginning and tell the whole story as to what happened during my C-section. And if you can hear noise in the background, it's Rob playing video games and it's kind of loud and crazy, so I'm sorry. So the day of delivery, I woke up, Rob was on his way down to Georgia. He had not slept the whole night. I guess he took his pre-workout, so he was wide awake. So he came wide awake, but kind of on the verge of getting tired, and picked me up from the house. We headed to the hospital and got there around 9:45. I had already gone and had my pre-op stuff done on Friday, which I believe I mentioned in the last video, but I can't remember. Anyways, when all that stuff happened, I had a lot of paperwork to fill out. Then I came in to the hospital at 9:45, and I kind of had to re-sign some of that stuff, and Rob had to sign some of that stuff as well. And then we just kind of sat and waited for them to call us back. Once they called us back, we had to go to a whole nother area. I wouldn't really call it a waiting area, but it was just where they take all your vitals and give you your gown. They give your husband, boyfriend, whoever, their scrubs that they're gonna wear. And then the anesthesiologist came in. I can't ever say that word, but he came to talk to me and just reassure me that everything was gonna be fine and what he was gonna do and how the spinal tap works. And then we get the rundown of the surgery, how that's gonna go. They take my vitals, they give me all my bands that I need, they give Rob his band that he needs that connects us to the baby. So our surgery was scheduled for 12 o'clock. We had to be there at 10:30, but like I told you before, we got there early, it was 9:45. And we didn't get into surgery until about 12:30. Once they rolled me down there, I had to walk into the operating room. Rob had to sit out and wait. He couldn't be in the room for the spinal tap, which I don't really know why, but I wish that he could have been there because I hate needles. And so as I was getting up out of the bed to walk into the room, I'm looking at him and I kind of started crying because I was freaking out a little bit because this was the one part of the whole entire surgery that I was nervous about. So I walk into the room. I have to get up on this table. It's super high up and it's like in the shape of a T. And they pretty much are telling me what's going to go on, again, with the spinal tap. I'm shaking because I'm nervous. And luckily there was a nurse in there that was really sweet, and she let me squeeze her hand, and I just kind of like laid on her shoulder and cried, and it was a mess. But after actually getting the actual needle, the needle going in, of course, like that hurt a little bit, but it didn't hurt as bad as I thought it was going to. And then when all the fluids went through me, like they said it was gonna be like a burning sensation, but like it really didn't even burn at all. I guess maybe because I was just so freaked out about everything else that it seemed, maybe I made it bigger in my head, I don't know. So they do that, the fluids go into me, they lay me down, they start hooking me up to whatever they need to, they're putting the blue sheet up. Rob walks in. I mean, at this point I'm not really feeling much of anything anymore, and I'm there, but I'm not like fully there. Rob comes in, he's got my phone ready to take pictures. Literally everything just happened so fast. I remember feeling stuff happening, like you could feel your body moving, but you can't feel anything that's going on. So I'm looking at Rob and I'm trying to get facial expressions because he's looking and he's making faces, but he said he was smiling, but to me it looked like he was making faces. And I'm like, are they cutting me open? Like, what's going on? He didn't want to tell me because he didn't want me to freak out. All that I remember is at one point the doctor had said, oh, I probably should have made this incision bigger because this baby's bigger than I thought he was going to be. So everybody thought that I was just going to have like this really tiny baby because I didn't look as big as I was, but I kept telling everybody like he feels humongous inside of me. Now he wasn't a huge baby. I'd say he's maybe an average size baby. He was 7 pounds 8 ounces, but I think everybody thought that maybe I was having like a 5-pound baby. So when he pulled him out of me, or I'm sorry, before he pulled him out of me, he opened me up and he noticed he was sideways. His feet were over here and his head was over here and his butt was face up. And that explained why all the time I'd say, I feel like something is in my rib cage. His feet were literally in my rib cage pushing that way. And that's why this always hurt all the time. That's why my back always hurt. That's why I went to the chiropractor like almost every week. And one thing I forgot to mention, I don't know if this is at every hospital, but at the hospital that I was at, when they put you on that table, before they start surgery, they put blankets on you, but the blankets are so warm. It's like they just came out of the dryer, but like an intense dryer. So you're not freezing cold, at least at my hospital. So when Jace came out, for some reason I just knew, I was like, I bet when he comes out he's gonna be that baby that doesn't cry because he's just gonna be like super boss, boss status, strong, whatever. He wasn't crying when he came out. And I wasn't worried. Rob was worried, but I wasn't worried. I was like, this is what I knew. I knew he wasn't gonna cry. And they had to like spank him to make him cry. And he cried, and his little cry was just so cute. Now it's just really loud and baby-like. Now I'm gonna insert footage here from before when Rob was talking about what happened when he was put on the table, because that I had no idea. I couldn't see any of it. I'm just laying there looking at the ceiling in a blue sheet. What do you look at the table?
Yeah, they took him over to the table. They put the clip on his umbilical cord after cleaning him up a little bit. As soon as they put the clip on the umbilical cord, he immediately started to pee everywhere, which was great. Pretty funny to watch, so the nurses had to clean that up real quick. Then they called me over to clip the cord. I clipped the cord. Once I got done with that, they went back to measuring and doing the footprints. And that all went really smoothly. He came out at 7 pounds, 8 ounces. I don't remember the exact length and everything, and there was a little fiasco in the room where they forgot the bag that had all the information. So a lot of that stuff had to get redone, and they had to go find the information that luckily a lot of it was already put into the computer. So after that, it wasn't too big of a deal. They got Morgan stitched up at a pretty quick rate. Sorry guys, I just ate something, I had something stuck in my throat. So the stitching and everything went well. I watched some of that too, that was pretty cool. But the doctor we had was great. I'd recommend him to anybody. If you guys know Morgan personally, you can definitely ask her for his information. He did an amazing job, and he comes highly recommended by everybody.
Yep.
And then once we got out of that room, we went back to the pre-op room, spent about 2 hours in there waiting for everything to get handled, waiting for her vitals to come up. She came out kind of cold.
The surgery took about 15 minutes for him to cut me open, pull Jace out, stitch me back up. My doctor was pretty efficient. Once they finished everything, they had to move me into my bed again and then roll me back to that little area where the curtains are, and we're in our little space. And as soon as we got in there, I felt really loopy. I mean, for PG purposes, I want to make my channel PG. I'm going to say loopy, but that's not the word that I would use. And they were giving me medication. They gave me Jace. He latched on immediately, which was one of the things that I heard is really hard. But for me, like he latched on just fine. And then we had to stay down there for a little while. You get like an hour of bonding time, but then we had to stay a little bit longer because my temperature wouldn't go up. It was still too low. It was like, I don't remember what it was, but it was low. So once they were able to get my temperature up, then we could go up. So they kept just covering me with these warm blankets, like those ones I kept telling you that were like coming out the dryer. They just kept piling them on top of me to try to warm me up. That took a while. And then once I got warm enough, then I was able to go. And I also was told like I'd have the shakes when I was in the room, but I didn't really have any shakes. And I don't know if that's just because, I don't know what that was, but it wasn't when I was in the operating room. I didn't have any shakes. It wasn't until I got back to that area where my vitals and stuff were taken, I was hooked up to everything. That's where I started to get the shakes a little bit. But it was kind of more like a jittery feeling. So once they took me up to my room, they had to move me from that one bed I was in to my room bed. And when that happened, apparently, I think they tore part of my incision like in the middle. So I'm gonna kind of have to deal with that for a little while. We're hoping that when we have the next one, that maybe they could fix all of that again. Who knows? And they put this binder on me, and it kind of, let me go get it, hold on. So this is the binder that they put on you, and they wrap it around you. It's kind of like a waist trainer. They wrap it around you to make sure, I guess, like everything is in and stays in. You got all this stuff coming out of you. It's just, it's nasty, y'all. So I have one of those, and I've actually been using it to kind of help with my stomach a little bit while it's going down. But then once they did all that and got me situated, Rob went down and got our parents to come up to visit. The first day we only had our parents come just because we weren't sure how I was gonna feel, which I truly didn't feel that bad that first day initially. Like, it actually, I felt fine, but it's also because I was on so much medication that I couldn't really feel any pain either. For the rest of that evening, Rob and I just enjoyed our time together with baby Jace. I did all the feeding, and he did all the diaper changing. He got to change the first diaper.
It's okay. Here, hold this.
He's changing some babies.
Oh my god.
What? Is it bad? Is it bad?
It's almost as much as I would do.
I'm really sad we didn't get a good shot of that for you guys. He said it was disgusting. But I do have footage of him changing that first diaper. Now, one thing they do feed, so like I got fed. They brought meals for me, but as far as Rob was concerned, they didn't feed Rob. Rob kind of had to do his own thing. My parents actually stopped at Chick-fil-A on the way to the hospital, so they got him something because I couldn't eat. I didn't get to eat until it was later that evening. I feel like it was like maybe 6 o'clock. But that is one thing to always take note, is that when you're in the hospital, whoever's with you doesn't get food unless they go down to the cafeteria themselves and get it, but they do bring you food. For the evening, every time I would feed Jace, I would pass him to Rob so Rob could put him in the little bassinet next to me, because it's kind of hard for me to stretch over there if you don't want to tear anything. But then I got to a point where I felt bad to keep asking him, hey, can you wake up and put him back in the bassinet and then go back to sleep? Because if you've seen our previous videos, Rob doesn't sleep very well. So once you wake him up, like, it's over. And as I said earlier, he did not sleep the whole night. So I wanted him to get some rest. So I ended up just kind of sleeping, holding Jace like this in my arms for the whole night, which was a huge mistake. And I'll tell you why when I talk about day 2 at the hospital. But I mean, my thoughts on a C-section. When you're pregnant and going through all these things, everybody gives you suggestions and wants to tell you, like, this is going to be awful or this is going to be great. Well, I kind of got, like, mixed things on C-sections. I had some people be like, oh, C-sections are awesome, they're great, you're going to love it, it's so easy. You have other people that are like, oh my gosh, they're awful and your recovery's awful. For me personally, I am happy that I did a C-section. Because once we were in there, like I said, he noticed that the baby was bigger than he thought it was going to be. I mean, I probably could have birthed him naturally, but B, I could not have birthed him naturally because he was not in position for me to. If I were to wait another week, I would have pretty much been waiting forever to birth him, because Jace did not want to come out. He was in there and he was ready to stay there for a long time. Pretty much when my doctor opened me up, he was like, I'm glad we decided to do a C-section.
Let's sing a song full of hope, full of pain.
Because we would have had to do one anyway. So it saved us a lot of time instead of going through labor and all the other stuff. Just like get in there and get out. I'm all about efficiency. C, when I'm counting A, B, C, but it's 3. C, I don't have a high pain tolerance. And I didn't really feel a lot of pain, even in my healing. And I mean, I guess that's also because I was on top of my pain meds, but I felt like my recovery wasn't as bad. Like, I was able to drive. They told me in the hospital. One of the nurses said if you can hit the brake and look over your shoulder to your left and look over your shoulder to your right, then you can drive. I was able to pretty much do that motion function the day I left the hospital. So I drove on Saturday. It wasn't hard for me at all. And I feel like another thing that I was always told is for people that had successful recoveries with C-sections, when the doctor says or when the nurses say get up and move, get up and move. Don't lay down all the time. Get up and move around, walk around, even if you're just like walking around your dining room table, which is what I did. I would just take laps around my dining room table and move. I mean, it's uncomfortable at times, but it wasn't unbearable. Like the way it was described to me by some was like, the recovery, it just hurts, you just can't walk, you can't do anything, you're just in so much pain. I don't have a high pain tolerance, and as I said, my recovery was fine. Now, I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm just speaking for me, but if I could go back and do it again, hands down, C-section is my preferred way to go. Some people are going to be great natural birth givers. It's just not me, and that's okay. Well, that is all for this video. The next video, I'll talk about the rest of my hospital stay, and I might even get Rob to come and give his thoughts on what it's like to be a significant other in the hospital during this time. But if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and look out for more content, especially now that we've got this series, Adventures Out There, with Jace. We'll have lots of Jace on here, and I'm also going to have another series on here called A Beauty and Her Beast, where that's going to kind of be me and Rob, just things that we do.
Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe. Bye. Keep holding